this fast. Hold on for one sec, guys. All right, good morning, everyone. It is Kelly O'Neill. I want to welcome you to the Profit-preneur Show live. This is your place where I bring you the top profitpreneurs around the world to help you to rapidly accelerate your business. So if you are looking for no BS advice, you're looking for qualified experts who can help you grow and scale your business, and you're looking for people who are going to help you have the life that you desire as well, you are in the right place. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kelly O'Neill. I'm just going to set this down here. My name is there. Hold on, guys. We're live. All right, there we go. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kelly O'Neill, and I am a brand marketing and profit strategist that specializes in marketing to affluent clients. I run a group called the Profit-preneur Circle on Facebook. I highly recommend that you join that. And I also have a top-rated podcast, the Profitology Podcast, on iTunes. And today... Oh, I'm hearing some echo in here and there, miss. And today I am joined by the amazing Sigrun, who, you guys, I met Sigrun, I think about a year ago.
Yes.
And just fell in love. She is amazing. She is one of the most accomplished international businesswomen I have ever seen in my life. Her philosophy, the way she rolls, she is all that and a bag of chips plus more. So, Sigrun, I'm so thrilled that you are here today. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your business?
Yes. My name is Sigrun, and I am here from Reykjavik, Iceland, in my home office. We're having some issues with the sound. Let me see.
Turn the volume all the way down on your phone. Yeah. There you go.
Then that's done. Yes, I am from Iceland, and I've lived half my life abroad, UK, Switzerland, Germany, and my background is lots of master's degrees, architecture, computer science, business, computer-aided architectural design, before I got seriously sick and had to rethink about the rest of my life and started my business 5.5 years ago. And now I am an international business coach, doing my business online. I live in two places, Switzerland and Iceland, and I tend to go a lot to the US and meet wonderful people like Kelly.
Fantastic. You know, one of the things, you know, and I said this when I was promoting this show, you know, the title is very, in my opinion, it's pretty bland, right? Like how to get big, scary, audacious goals. And people talk about that all the time. But with most people, here's the difference. It's lip service, right? They're talking about big, scary, audacious goals, but that's not what's really going on. Sigrun runs the kind of goals like crap your pants kind of goals, right? Like the kind of goals that would make most of us breathe in a brown paper bag. She is a woman since I've known her, she lives by no excuses. You know, I see her more than I see some of my friends that live in LA, and she lives abroad. So, you know, she really has this life philosophy about going after what it is that you want that is so unique and so, it's not seen everywhere in the world. So tell us a little bit about how you developed that. Like, where does that come from with you?
Well, it comes back from the time, I was brought up in the belief that I could do everything. I think my parents instilled this belief in me. It was something I'm really, really grateful for. But as I grew up, I met some women that did not share that belief and were trying to educate me on the real truth of the world and how the universe works and all of that stuff. And I was 16 years old when I had the most transformational experience in that sense, where I was doing an 8-week course with women who were in their 40s and 50s, and all of them shared how they did not make their dreams come true. And that was kind of hard for me to accept.
Right.
I felt like, why not? And then they were like, well, we had children, I got married, oh, I have this job, oh, I don't have the education, blah, blah, blah. And for me, being 16-year-old and maybe a little bit naive, thinking like, these are just all excuses. Like,
Right.
I saw all the examples of the opposite. When I was 9 years old, we had the first democratically elected female president in the world in Iceland. I remember going to her house and cheering with my mother and sister. So she was a single mother with adopted child and had just gone through a cancer therapy where one of her breasts had been removed.
Oh, wow.
So I see a president in front of me, and then at the same time, or a few years later, women that say they couldn't study or they couldn't have their dream job or couldn't start a business or whatever their dreams were, that that was not possible. And at the same time, I saw this beautiful role model. She's still alive today. She's in her 80s. Wonderful president. She was a president for 16 years. Everyone loved her. And it was just normal. Like, a woman can become a president. And then I had the contrast. These women who said nothing, you can't make your dreams come true. That's not how society works. Women need to take care of kids. They need to take care of their husband. And I was living, or still am, Iceland is #1 in gender equality in the world. There's maternity leave, there's paternity leave, there are all these things. And still today, I meet women who don't think they can make their dreams come true. Now, obviously, I moved abroad and my business is international today. Actually, I am not focusing at all on Icelandic women. But what I learned from this experience, 16 years old, is that, or what I decided, let's say, I decided a couple of things. Not to have children, because obviously there's an obstacle to have children. Now, I don't believe that anymore today, but when I was 16, that sounded very much like the truth, because that's what I was told.
Right.
And a husband, I saw my parents and they met when they were 13 and they're still happily married today. So I was like, yes, I want a partner in my life, but that person is never going to stop me from making my dreams come true. So I've been pretty strict on my things. I actually have 2 wonderful stepsons. I've been a stepmom since 11 years and I have a wonderful husband. I met him when I was, late 30s, early 40s. It's been helped me take decisions throughout my life to have this experience of I'm always going to make my dreams come true. So whatever I imagine I want to do, I don't want to be there anyone stopping me to do it. Of course, if there is some reason it shouldn't work out or impossible in some way, I would love people to share that with me. But typically, I don't let anything stop me.
I love it. And that is a choice. Yeah. As Sigrun said, that is a choice. It's interesting. And for all of you viewers, hi, everyone, by the way, who's joined us. I saw Wendy here. I saw Elizabeth here. I saw Victoria. I see a bunch of people joining us on Instagram. That really is a choice. I had a similar experience when I was 16, and I grew up in a very well-to-do, but also a very dysfunctional family. And in the growing up in that family, I remember I called it a God glimpse. I was 16 years old. I will never forget it. I remember what I was wearing. I remember exactly how I felt. I remember where I was standing. And I remember thinking to myself, I had just gotten into it with my mother, and, her and my dad were going at it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what value are these people bringing to the world? Like, at 16 years old, I remember having this distinct thought of, like, there has to be more to life than this. There has to be more to life than arguing about petty crap, and there has to be more than that. And I made a decision at that point at 16 years old that I would never, and I always remember hearing my mom too say, that she didn't feel like she had choices, which that was a choice of her own making, by the way. Yes. That was not because, my dad was the breadwinner, she was stay at home, and she had felt limited by her choices. But she did it to herself, in my opinion. But I also remember thinking to myself, I will always live my life from a place of choice. I will never put myself into a position where I do not have choice. And that has become a guiding, reigning force in my life for how I evolved as a woman, for same as you, for the partnerships that I have chosen, for the lifestyle that I have chosen, for the business decisions that I have made. And that really is a main piece of the mission behind my business, which is to help people live from a place of choice. Whatever that choice is, to get yourself into that space. So in doing that, and Sigrun, I think you agree with that, you know, let's talk about goal setting, because, you know, this is something that has been kind of thrown around. You know, anytime you know, you're in any kind of growth program, whether it be personal or whatever, everyone's like, you got to set goals. You got to set goals. Right? But then I think that what's happened is, and I wonder if you agree with me, that for most people, setting goals just seems like a good idea. It's almost like a something you put down on paper. You just write something down, and you check the box, and you check the box, and now you've set your goals. And then, just like business plans, they get chucked in a drawer and no one goes after it. How do you do this differently?
Well, I read the book Good to Great, 2006 probably, or 2005. And that's where I heard about the concept of big, hairy, audacious goal, which are typically in the corporate world something like 25 years ahead or something. I think that's too long, too far away for us.
For entrepreneurs?
So I'd rather say 10 years. And it's interesting that you may have to actually do this in a setting with someone else or in a special environment, so you get inspired to think really big. It's typically hard to do this completely on your own, unless you're very experienced doing it. But I would say my biggest long-term goals were set when, in 2008, I attended Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within in London and met my husband then. Surprise, surprise, he was just sitting next to me. And then I had this big sheet of paper, and through some exercises, which probably took a couple of hours, we wrote down on the sheet, what is our goal in health, finance, all these different areas of life. And I do this with my clients. I have Wheel of Life, and I ask them, where do they assess themselves on the Wheel of Life? So this was like big goals. And then I was in between jobs at this point. I was not thinking about entrepreneurship yet. I guess there was a little seed planted during this event, because a lot of entrepreneurs attend Tony Robbins events. But I was really just looking for the next CEO job. And I was thinking like, oh, will the company have 200 employees or 500, whatever? That was on my mind. I lost the paper, or I didn't find it. The story I told myself is that I had been looking at it in an airplane and put it in the pocket and left it there. So that's the story I told myself for about 9 years or 10 years. In November 2017, then I'm already in my 4th year of business, and my big goal for that year was to make $1 million. In July, August, I was at 340,000. I was actually just talking to a client of mine who is in exactly the same position. She is at 340,000. I told her, you can still make the $1 million. And I am getting close to making the $1 million, but I'm still 150,000 away. And I find the piece of paper. I'm cleaning up my office, pick up a binder from my studies. Out falls this yellow big thing from the Tony Robbins event. And the first thing I see, have $1 million business. And I was not thinking of creating a business, or I have no idea where this number came from. It was that ridiculously crazy. It said, have my own business, make $1 million a year. And this is literally just before I actually made it. So if you ever believe in signs of the universe, it was like, this was the confirmation that it actually works that way. And when you make big goals, they're so scary. You have no idea how to make it happen. It's not even on my radar to start a business when I made that goal. $1 million, I was making 6 figures, maybe 150,000 a year when I wrote this down. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea how this came about. So I think that needs to happen in a certain environment. Now, once you've made it happen, now, for instance, for me to write down, have a $10 million company or $100 million, I can write that down because I have experienced making crazy goals.
Right.
and I can do this again and again. And I have another crazy goal that's going to happen a year from now.
Yes. Do you want to share with them what that is?
Yes. So
it is so cool, you guys.
But it's funny how things have happened in a way that sometimes I have these, let's say, crazy goals. I also had a crazy goal of becoming a CEO without business experience or business education, and that worked out too. So I think it's by the repetition of the crazy goals that I've started to ramp it up and make even crazier goals for myself. And I had just started my business in 2014 when I felt I had a crazy goal of doing a retreat, getting women from all over the world to Iceland and do a 5 or 6 day retreat. And I thought in my mind, like, I wasn't even making much money, like $2,000 a month when I had this idea. It's like, who would spend money and fly to Iceland? And a year later, yeah.
I'm like, yep.
Yeah. And I was just not surrounded with enough people. We know also you have to surround yourself with people who think like that. But I got this crazy idea. I talked about it with my makeup artist, with my photographer, And a year later, clients started to ask for it. They said, Sigrun, you're from Iceland and you have international businesswomen. Why not do a retreat? And then it took me another year to actually execute it. But you see, it starts somewhere. That seed is planted. The same thing with my big crazy idea that I'm working on right now. I had started my business, and I don't know exactly when I had this idea, but there is a new conference center in Iceland. And if you imagine the Sydney Opera House, but a modern version with glass windows, which they can put lights into and even letters on it, it's amazingly beautiful. And then I went to some concert or theater, and there I saw the main room, and the main room is fiercely red. They even call it that. The architect calls it fiercely red. And I'm like, who doesn't want to be fiercely red? And my favorite color is red since I was a child. So I was like, I stood in this room and I said, this was made for me. And I had no idea what to do with it or do, and I was like, this is crazy. How am I going to get people to travel to Iceland and attend my conference? But it's the same as with the retreat. Yes, the retreat was a small scale and I can only host 12 participants. But the conference hosts 1,800. And I know they will not all come from my list. So I'm counting on all my friends to gather their friends.
Count on me, girl.
So yeah, at the same time as this is going on, there is a certain speaker that I would love to have, and it's not confirmed yet, so I don't want to mention any names. But for 3 years, I've always been meeting the speaker at different conferences, and I always walk up to the speaker and said, "Are you coming to my conference in Iceland?" And so, "What is it about? When is it?" I said, "I don't know," and I just was always like, it came. It's almost like this childish, naive way of me saying, I'm making sure that it happens. And
you guys, I want to point out something really quickly, because it's not just that she has this big, scary, audacious goal. She is consistently taking steps towards making it a realization in everything that she does. That goal is forefront in her mind. I talk a lot about the difference between being interested and committed. Sigrun is committed to creating her results and having an extraordinary life in business. She's committed. There is no plan B. It is happening. She doesn't know how, but she will make it happen. And it is constantly in her mind that, well, this is happening, and I know lots of opportunities are going to show up for me to make that happen. She's just now on the lookout for them.
Yeah.
So keep going. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. No, and they pop up. So now, without really knowing about this event and things like that, this particular speaker that I have in my mind that I would love to have, I have 2 or 3 videos of us talking where the speaker is promising to come to my event. It's just like this. It gives me fuel, whether the person comes or not. It gives me fuel, because it's something special. And yes, I had a VIP retreat last October in Iceland with my VIP clients, and I started to talk about it. Oops, We got disconnected here, so I'm just going back in.
It looks like Instagram's having some connection.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. We'll stay here, and I'll post it over here.
Yeah. So I am talking to them about big goals, and then they are reminding me, Sigrun, aren't you planning to, book this venue? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. I open up my laptop, I write the email. Are these 2 dates available? And they watch me do it. They actually took pictures, so they have like firsthand proof that I actually did it. So yeah, it's been booked since last October. I've talked about it a lot, and now we are really in the weeds of planning. Not only that, details.
You went, and it's funny, Elizabeth, my client Elizabeth is watching, and Elizabeth, you do the same sort of things that Sigrun does. She also has a big, hairy, audacious goal, and she operates in the world the same way that you are. One of the things you did as well is you went and did a photo shoot there and took pictures.
Yes.
Which are, like, they gave me chills when I saw them. They're phenomenal.
Yeah. So I've been taking steps. I don't feel I've been working on this like every day, but I've been like, okay, we need a photo shoot, we need video promo, we need an event agency. So I've been talking to different event agencies, and I'm still waiting to find the perfect one. I haven't found the perfect one yet, but I've learned a lot in the process. And I think this experience, like it goes way beyond just doing one event. This is a life-changing thing on many ways, life and business,
right.
Doing something massive like this and connecting with so many people and feeling also the support. What has really taken me positively surprised, how everyone is saying, I'm coming, I'm bringing my friends, or I'm going to email my list. And I'm like, wow, it's like, there's so much support because people like, you're thinking big and I wish I would, or something like that, or I admire.
Or like I can speak to myself personally. I love to support women. I love to support entrepreneurs. I want to support people who want to make their dreams come true. And I love what you're doing. I love, this is totally going to happen, right? And I'm going to be there, and I can't wait. Like, to me, I want to get behind people doing great things in the world.
Yeah. And I think what's helping, like, what if I didn't talk about it, how scary it is, and I just come on, oh, here's my conference. It's not the same thing, because I'm actually been talking to people since last October and said, oh, I did something really scary. I booked it. And, and then, people rally with you because they realize how big it is and how it's not easy to sell even 500 tickets. 1,000 to 1,800. Yeah, it's not. So people coming up with strategies, how they're going to help and everything. And I think that's where, that's where we can help each other. I see others just setting up a conference and somehow it's like drinking water for them. But I realize this is a big thing and I need help, and I'm willing to ask for it and share that dream with everyone else.
I love it. There's a book by Grant Cardone. I don't know if you guys have read this, called, it's 10X. And basically what he talks about is, and I think this is really important, this is something that we teach our students, this is something that we deploy in our company, is, your brain, when you start thinking of, like, let's just say you wanted to make $100,000. Well, what if you actually change that number to $1 million and 10X'd it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, when you are committed to that, and you're creating a plan to create $1 million looks, feels, and acts differently than creating a plan to create $100,000. And so when you put yourself into that mindset and you're thinking, you start to think differently, you start to act differently, you start to make different choices in your life and your business. And as a result, what do you think happens? Your results grow.
Yeah.
So,
and that happened. So I had booked the venue in October, didn't do much about it. I went into a launch and stuff, and then it comes suddenly January, February. And I remember this is first week of February, and I am sharing in, I'm two masterminds, one of my masterminds, I'm sharing like, oh my, this is going to happen. And I have no doubts it will happen, but it was more like how, because my team was too small. And my team was too small, no event experience necessarily, or not like actually executing. been to many conferences. I know exactly what I want and all that stuff. But this has forced me to, I was delaying and delaying hiring a team. And now I've doubled my team or even tripled since October last year.
Yeah.
In preparation. So I'm a different person. I have to delegate a lot more. There are many things that I'm starting to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. Because if I'm the person that actually is running an event like this, or even just hosting it, probably not running it even, you have to have a team and you have to support. And I was delaying that way too long. But it forced me. The big idea and executing it forced me to kind of upgrade and think like a person who has already actually done it.
I love it. I love it. You guys, if you want to connect with Sigrun, where is the best place for them to connect with you?
Sigrun.com is the best place to find everything about me and the upcoming conference, of course.
Fantastic.
And then I have a podcast, The Sigrun Show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys enjoyed this interview and you'd like to get more interviews like it, watch more interviews like it, as well as if you would like to be surrounded by a group of really kick-ass entrepreneurs who are up to big things in the world, I want to invite you to join our Profitpreneur Circle on Facebook. We have a circle that is dedicated to serious entrepreneurs who are up to big things in the world and are really looking to go after their dreams and live from a place of choice. And in that group, we do a live free training every single Thursday, as well as we mastermind, we share resources, and then about every 4 to 6 weeks, I do an intensive all-day training, absolutely free to you. In fact, we've got one scheduled for September 11th, the Marketing to Millionaires Intensive. We're going to be opening up registration for that shortly. So if you would like to join us, please come over to the Profitpreneur Circle. Make sure you answer the 3 questions because they are required to get in. And then please introduce yourself, network in the group, share resources, and come and mastermind with us. Sigrun, thanks so much for joining us today. And all right, everyone, have an amazing day. We'll be back. The Profitpreneur Show is live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on the Profitology page. See you guys soon.
Bye-bye.